What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming at y'all with another 2-minute drill episode. Tuesday, June 15th, man. Hoping y'all had a decent Monday. We all know Mondays suck anyway. We are back breaking down some content from Pro Football Network. They released their list of the top 10 HBCU players going into the 2021 season. So what we're going to do is kind of go through the list, offer our thoughts on who they picked. Then at the end, I'm going to give y'all some names who I think should have been on the list that they really overlooked. There are I think 2 people on the list, Brandon, that have since transferred since this list was out. So we're going to skip them because we don't know if they're going to transfer to HBCU schools. So we could just replace them.
Wild.
Do what?
That's wild, by the way, because this article came out 4 days ago.
I know. It's crazy. And I mean, Dalen Baldwin's an honorable mention, and he's at Michigan now.
Yeah.
So there's a few people. I think the DN from Alabama A&M, Kushney, is on the list too, so we'll skip him. But let's kick it off, man. We have a guy who I've mentioned on the podcast before. This is one of my top picks to be in an NFL draft pick from the HBCU ranks. Our guy, Jah-Maine Martin, North Carolina A&T running back. Brandon, this kid is just a monster. I mean, school record 23 rushing touchdowns, Brandon. For his career, averages over 8 yards per carry. And was a first-team all-conference back. Didn't play last year because of the MEAC not playing due to COVID. But this kid, I mean, he's so explosive, man. When he puts his foot in the ground, Brandon, and there's a crease, this kid's going to the house. I mean, like I said, he ran for over 1,500 yards in his last action, set the record for rushing yard average, school record for touchdowns. And Brandon, he had 9 rushes in one season, 50-plus yards, all of which were touchdowns. I mean, dude, that's like Reggie Bush level type of explosive, and he's just murking people week in and week out. So I love him being on the list. He would have been on my list. And guys, I just want to say, me and Brandon, we're getting ready to start doing preseason content in the next coming months. We are going to release our own list of this, but we just want to break down this one as it's gotten a lot of attention. Jah-Maine Martin deserves to be on any list of the top 10 anything coming out of the HBCU ranks.
He absolutely does. And Zach already touched on it a lot, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. But 7.7 yards a carry, Zach, is absolutely insane. I sit here and I lose my mind over 4+ yards per carry, and this dude's putting up almost 8. So that's nuts. And it's not like he carried the ball 200 times. It's not like he carried the ball 50 times. He carried the ball nearly 200 times, 187 carries in that season. So, yeah, he absolutely deserves all this hype. And before we go any further, Zach, I just have to say, don't take anything here from Pro Football Network too seriously. I get it. This article was a big piece for them. Don't take it too seriously.
I mean, I love how they compared his performance to Mount Tambora volcanic eruption, which, in case you guys don't know, is the largest volcanic eruption known to man. That's what they compared his 2019 season to. That's honestly how good this kid is.
You could have given me 100 years to guess what that was, and I would not know. Why don't we talk about that more? We talk about Pompeii. We talk about Mount Vesuvius was the Pompeii volcano, but that's the only volcano I know.
Yeah, and this is in 1815, so I felt like
more recent.
Yeah, a lot more recent than Pompeii. Yeah. Anyway, this is not the 2-minute drill on the history of volcanic eruptions in the world's history.
That's the new show coming out, guys.
I took concepts of science at Auburn, so I feel like I might be a tad bit of an expert on this. But Brandon, the next name on this list. So, by the way, Pro Football Network did not put these in any particular order. We're just going to go as the order they listed them. I wouldn't have a problem putting Jah-Maine Martin number 1, but this guy would be my number 1 on my list when I order it. It's our guy, Aqeel Glass. Go check out our interview with him. I'll link it in the description. This Brandon, what do you want me to say? He threw for almost 500 yards, 7 touchdowns against Jackson State this year. He started 32 of the 34 possible games for Alabama A&M as he's joined the program. And last year led Alabama A&M to a SWAC championship, an HBCU national championship, and averaged 338 yards per game and 16 touchdowns in a 7-game season.
There's not much more we can say, guys. I mean, this is basically it. This is basically the Aqeel Glass podcast. If you haven't heard our thoughts on him, go back, listen to our interview with Aqeel Glass from a couple weeks back. Go back and listen to really almost any episode that we've done since we started this show.
Well, we have a whole episode, a whole 2-minute drill where I just rant for 30 minutes about how he should have been an FCS All-American. That's the type of level of so All Script says he's a bandwagon Jackson State. We're bandwagon Aqeel Glass here on the Bluebloods. So anything Aqeel Glass, any Aqeel Glass slander, you're getting you blocked on the Bluebloods.
Yeah, and don't call us a deuce bag either. That'll get you blocked.
Also true, but Brandon, I mean, really and truly, is there any other quarterback that you could even make an argument belongs above Aqeel Glass going into this season?
No, I mean, I know what we're going to get. We're going to get Shedeur Sanders. We're going to get all kind of stuff.
There's actually a quarterback in the SWAC who's on this list, and it's not Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, I mean, okay, we'll get to it, obviously, but I mean, we're going to get all kind of people coming from everywhere with their opinions about this. Your opinion's wrong if it's not Aqeel Glass. He's the best quarterback he's the best quarterback in HBCU football, probably in the FCS. He should have won the Walter Payton Award. Let's continue.
Anyway, the next one, Brandon, we're gonna stick right with Alabama A&M here. We have the top target for Aqeel. Abdul-Fatai Ibrahim is his name. Alabama A&M.
I'm proud of you, Zach. That was good.
I did a little bit of research. Brandon, how many games did he play this year? 3?
Yeah.
In 3 games this year, he averaged almost 100 yards per game and had 3 touchdowns in 3 games. And in his previous full season, had almost 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns, was the SWAC Freshman of the Year, and was the first-team all-conference selection as a freshman. So I believe that he did pretty good. And Brandon, his second game ever, 9 catches, 142, and 2 touchdowns against UAPB.
Zach, and it's not that he's a sleeper for this upcoming season. It's just that he only played 3 games last season. Watch out for him. The duo between him and Aqeel Glass this upcoming season is going to be deadly. And I don't know how people don't have them as like one of the favorites in the SWAC this year. They're coming off a championship. We've been on the soapbox before, but this duo is going to be absolutely deadly on that offense.
And I don't think, I mean, I guess you can look at, I think some people would look at the wide receiving unit for Alabama A&M and call it the best in the SWAC, because I think it is, especially with the addition of D. Anderson a few weeks ago as well. But, man, this kid puts on the show every time he's on the field. And, Brandon, what happens now when he gets an entire summer, fall camp to work even more with Aqeel? And now they get to play a full season together. If he can stay healthy and be on the field for every game, I have no doubt that this kid could lead the SWAC in receiving this coming year easily, no doubt in my mind, especially with the exit of Dalen Baldwin, who led the SWAC in receiving last year.
Right, absolutely, Zach.
But this is, I think by far, this kid would be my pick for the number 1 returning player on defense for the SWAC. And I don't think it'll come as a surprise to you guys. I mean, Jordan Lewis from Southern.
Disgusting.
Guys, this spring, shortened season, he played 5 games, Brandon. In 5 games, he had 15 tackles for loss and 10.5 sacks in 5 games.
Take a second, guys. Take a second if you need it. 10.5 sacks in 5 games. That is unreal. Like, I don't know how you do that.
Dude, there is no reason you should be that. I mean, eventually you just figure the offensive line with this triple team. You got to chip them with the tight end, and you got to have the tackle and guard also get them, and maybe keep the running back in the pocket just in case for this kid.
And what's wild is that, like, this past season, this shortened season that we had this spring, He had better stats this spring than he did his full last season, where he had like 11 and a half tackles and like 6 of those were sacks. Dude, this
in 13 games, and then in 5 games he puts up 10 and a half sacks.
The improvement that Jordan Lewis has shown, and this upcoming season is going to be ridiculous. I'm about to make my way to some Southern games this season, I think, just to watch him play, honestly.
Especially down there in Baton Rouge, man. You got to go see Jordan Lewis. I mean, in case you guys don't want to do the math in your head, if he would have played a 10-game season, he was on pace to get 21 sacks in a season.
Right.
That's just in 10 games. I mean, this kid, guys, everyone was talking about how amazing Chase Young was, and he had, 15 sacks in 15 games? Yeah. This kid put up almost 11 in 5 games. I mean, this Jordan Lewis, Brandon, right now, I think deserves to be a second, third-round pick right now in the NFL draft. And if he comes out and repeats because I don't want to say do better, because how do you improve on 10 and a half sacks? Like the pace that you would have to be on to exceed what he did this season would be the greatest season in college football history if you could somehow outpace 10 and a half sacks in 5 games.
And you know what's even like, and I know I mentioned his stats from 2019. Those are pretty good stats. 6 sacks in one season is pretty good. And then he just came out of nowhere this spring. So, man, I'm excited to watch this kid play. He absolutely deserves to be on this list and probably more. And I'm honestly a little surprised that he didn't get – I don't know. I honestly don't know how many offers he got after this spring from other programs, but he probably had some coaches in his ear.
I think he did. And, man, Southern's so lucky to have him, and he's going to be the face of that defense. But let's move to another SWAC team. It's a new SWAC team, Florida A&M. Down here, Xavier Smith. So I'm not going to even front. I didn't even really know about this kid till we picked this topic, and I was out doing some research. Redshirt sophomore season 2019, ran almost 1,200 yards receiving, 11 touchdowns, and 77 catches. This kid was a walk-on at 5'10", 175, and he has just carved his role into this offense, and he is the number 1 wide receiver. Didn't play. I don't believe he played last year because of the COVID season. But, man, this year he's stepping into the SWAC, a jumping competition. And, man, I'm excited to see how he plays this year for Florida A&M. And I don't mind him being on this list because that story, the walk-on story, and now you're getting 77 catches, almost 1,200 yards. I love to see it, man, especially out of Haines City. Get to play for your home state team. I love the story, man.
I don't hate it. I mean, I feel like we could have potentially had other wide receivers on this list, but I don't hate it, Zach. I mean, the kid's exciting. Obviously, moving into the SWAC this season with Florida A&M, moving into the conference, it's going to be interesting to see. I think that Florida A&M is going to see better competition there, and I don't know. I'm excited to see him. I don't know if I would have had him on my top 10, upcoming or. I don't know if I would add him on my top 10 list for this upcoming season.
That's fair enough. I think he'd be borderline, but man, that week 1 matchup, Jackson State, Florida A&M, we're gonna find out what he's made of.
Yeah,
Charlo Sanders, Dejon Warren.
For sure.
You better come with your lunch pack down there in Florida, because it's gonna be one hell of a game. But we're skipping the next one. The next player was Story Jackson, Prairie View A&M. He is transferring. He's transferring in hopes to join an FBS program, so we can't have him on the list because he is now probably headed to FBS level, Brandon. But he's a great player. I get it. 50 total tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss. He's one of the best linebackers in the HBCU ranks, but we wish him the best in terms of transferring. Now we get to the other quarterback. This kid did not play last year. Felix Harper, Brandon. He's a baller. I knew about this kid even before we started covering HBCU. Man, I just want to get to this tidbit that they threw into this article. At 5'11", 180, Brandon, his squat max is over 400 pounds. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I could do better, but yeah.
How much do you weigh right now?
about 180 pounds.
Okay. Are you 5'11"?
No.
Oh no, you're definitely not 5'11". You're like 5'6".
Ridiculous. No, don't get that out there, Zach. I'm 5'9".
So in 2019, Brandon, since the Braves didn't play last year, because Alcorn State Braves, it throws me off just because being around Atlanta, every time I hear the Braves, I think of Atlanta. But 33 passing touchdowns. Brandon led the conference in just 9 turnovers, 9 interceptions for Harper. He also had 6 rushing touchdowns. He was the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. If there's anybody I think you can make an argument in terms of on-the-field talent and performance, Felix Harper's that guy that's the only person I think you can make an argument could compete with Aqeel Glass at the top of the SWAC right now.
Absolutely. And, he led Alcorn State to that incredible season in 2019, I think to their SWAC championship. The kid can play for sure. It's hard to say just because Alcorn State didn't play at all last season. It wasn't just him opting out. His entire team didn't play. So it's hard to say how he's going to return. You can make the argument that he had a full year to train, or you can make the argument that he had a whole year and, who knows what's going on behind the scenes. No one really knows. I definitely would have him on my top 10 list, though.
You have to. If you're until he plays again, the SWAC Player of the Year has got to have kind of an asterisk because he didn't even play.
Right.
Just like the SWAC championships kind of got to have an asterisk because Alcorn State didn't play. I don't know his NFL potential because of his size. 5'11", 180. I get it. It's a little bit overblown, but man, 5'11", 180, that's tough to sell to NFL scouts in terms of a quarterback position. I love his accuracy. I love his decision-making, but man, that size is tough. And listen, I absolutely think he can lead Alcorn to another SWAC title. That team's loaded. The key is going to be Felix Harper. So I love having him on this list. I also would have him on here. Brandon, we both played offensive line.
Yep.
Shockingly, you could tell me, Brandon. Yes, Brandon played offensive line. I know. Mark Evans, the second Arkansas Pine Bluff offensive lineman. They get no respect, Brandon. His nickname is the Mauler. 6'4", 295. And Brandon, he has paved the way for back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Hardly ever I don't think he's allowed a sack for Arkansas Pine Bluff, and was first team all SWAC last year as a true sophomore.
Yeah, Zach, and I know this is kind of a long shot, and not a long shot. This is kind of like long off right here, but I think we're going to see the next great, for sure, NFL talent coming from the offensive line from an HBCU in this kid. We saw Teron Armstead come from Arkansas Pine Bluff as well. This kid has a lot of similarities, to be completely honest. They are both huge guys who protect the ball really well. I honestly think that this is going to be I feel like every year we get a couple of FCS O linemen that just come out of nowhere and everyone's hyped about them going to the NFL draft. I think Mark Evans is going to be one of those coming up.
I can see him kind of being one of those late first round, early second round type guys. He's definitely going to be invited to the Senior Bowl, things like that. I think he's got so much potential. And, at 6'4", maybe a move to guard could be in his NFL future because they usually like to have those 6'6", 6'7" type guys on the outside. But, hey, if you can pass block, drop set and all that, you can play tackle. But I can see a move to guard. He's physical. And moving him to guard and making him a run-first type of mauler blocker type, I think will be a huge move for him. I think you're going to see Mark Evans name called in the NFL draft as soon as he declares. And I don't know if he'll be an early guy going as a junior. If he comes back for his senior year, I think you could definitely see it.
Yeah, and I could even see him. I honestly don't see him starting at left tackle in the league. So that 6'4" just kills him. I could see. He's a really good run blocker too, though. So I think right tackle could be a real possibility. Or obviously, if you have a lefty in the backfield, left tackle is a possibility. But you guys know what I'm getting at here.
Absolutely. So offensive lineman gets no love. He's the only offensive lineman that made this list. So shout out to that. That shows you how good he is to make the list with some of these skill players and everything. But next, we have a kid who I'm actually very excited about. I think he's the only true freshman to make this list. And that's Devyn Coles out of Norfolk State. Brandon, he tied. So North Carolina Central's Brian Mills was signed as an undrafted free agent. He was one of the guys a lot of people thought were going to be drafted. I believe he was at the Senior Bowl. He tied Mills with 5 interceptions in the MEAC in 2019. He broke up 6 passes, which was one of the top at the conference. He did all that as a starting true freshman for Norfolk State.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and now he has a new head coach that's coming in ready to get that program moving in the right direction. And I think Coles is going to have all the opportunity, Brandon, to be one of the best HBCU cornerbacks in the country this year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Zach. I mean, I didn't watch a whole lot of Norfolk State football this year, admittedly, or the year that he played, I guess, rather.
Yeah, because they didn't play this year. Yeah, they the whole MEAC set out. Listen, go check out this kid's highlight tape, guys. If you don't know his name, I know a lot of our listeners. We have some people who follow HBCU football really closely. If you're a Power 5 type of guy or a FBS guy, please go check out some of these highlight tapes of these players. There's a lot of guys on this list that can ball out, and your favorite team might be drafting them in the next coming years.
That's true, and I mean the talent's for sure there. Obviously, looking at the stats. Looking back through a couple of the highlights, I mean, this kid can ball for sure. Like I said, I don't want to speak too much about him just because I didn't watch him play like in real time. So I feel like that would be a little misleading. And I feel like a fraud over here. But yeah, I mean, the kid looks like he can ball on paper for sure.
He can, and he got tested a lot as a true freshman because, Brandon, when you're a true freshman out there, that quarterback knows that. Yeah. They game plan. They're like, that kid's a true freshman, made him pay. 5 interceptions. Gotta love it. Broke up a lot of passes. He's physical, Brandon. I think you can't teach that playmaking ability. Yeah, you can teach fundamentals, but you can't teach that kid to get his hand on the ball and get those interceptions, get those pass breakups. He's just a playmaker, and I love that about him. And we're going to wrap up the list before we get to my names to watch, who I would put on the list. We got Demetri Morsell, Bowie State, cornerback. And he is the reigning CIAA Defensive Player of the Year, Brandon. This is D2. Had 9 interceptions, 4 turnovers returned for touchdowns, Brandon, and broke up another 5 passes as this defense led the league with only allowing 15 points per game.
Right. And if you go look at this article, you'll see a link to the YouTube highlights.
Baller.
I was going to look at those because that's where I got all my information from. But because admittedly, again, I don't watch Bowie State football. I don't. I don't. I'm not even ashamed.
Listen, nobody listening, unless you're a Bowie State fan, has watched a lot of Bowie State football. Don't even front on the podcast.
Because before I even saw this article, I didn't know Bowie State existed. But good on them, and good on them for having Demetri Morsell. I mean, this kid's a baller. Go watch the YouTube highlights. That's really all I have to say about this one.
He's going to be a draft pick out of D2. I'm just going to tell you. He has that it factor to pop off the screen. He is going to be on an NFL roster. I guarantee it.
The only thing I have to say to this is, and it's the same argument that a lot of people have with FCS football. And I think it's legitimate here because Division II football is a world of difference from Division I football, FCS or FBS. So he is playing at a lower level, I think. That's just my opinion. You know, I could be wrong. This kid could show that he could play against Division I talent for sure. And he's balling out in Division II. But we haven't seen him be truly tested, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not going to say I'm not saying he's Patrick Surtain, but I think
like, don't get me wrong, he's not a scrub. This dude can play.
But I hope he gets invited to the Senior Bowl. That would be a Senior Bowl invite I would love to see.
Oh yeah, I would too. Absolutely.
And in the HBCU Combine, that would be really good to see him go up against quarterbacks like Aqeel Glass and everyone who's probably going to be invited. But I'll list the honorable mentions here. We got Chris Myers from Norfolk State, Dakari Wilson from North Carolina A&T, Dalen Baldwin, Jackson State, now committed to Michigan, would be off this list. Jacoby Durant, South Carolina State, Jalen Thigpen, UAPB, Juwan Carter, Norfolk State, Keonte Hampton, Jackson State, Kyan Howard, North Carolina A&T, Marcus Cushney, Alabama A&M, who's now transferring maybe to a Power 5, and then Marquise Bell, Florida A&M. Those were the honorable mentions from this list. So, Brandon, I got 3 names here. We'll go through them. that I thought should be on the list. Two of them were in the honorable mention. So I want to start out with the first one. Jalen Thigpen, Arkansas Pine Bluff, I thought should be on there. He's out of Laurel, Mississippi. I think I have I don't remember who in my
it's right around Hattiesburg. It's
yeah. But Brandon, in only 5 games this year, he had 5 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, over 28 tackles. This kid, I think, was one of the most impressive defensive backs in the SWAC this year. And I do have 2 DBs on this list. And I really do think they're probably the 2 best defensive backs in the SWAC that just consistently get overlooked. But Jalen Thigpen led that really, really good Arkansas Pine Bluff secondary all the way to the SWAC championship, in which they did some nice things against Aqeel Glass, but eventually, that got the better of them. But I think Jalen Thigpen is someone you're going to have to really, really pay attention to this coming year in the SWAC.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the kid can ball for sure. Like Zach said, I'm not going to reiterate his points, but he can ball.
I really like him. This guy is another one that I thought should be on here. Keonte Hampton, out of West Point, Mississippi for Jackson State. I thought he had a really good year last year, but I mean, I guess he didn't do enough. Brandon, in Jackson State's 6 games, 57 tackles, in just 6 games, and he had a season high of 15 against Grambling State. He had a pick this year against Alabama State. I mean, I thought he played really, really well this year, but I guess it wasn't enough for him to get any respect. I think he's one of the probably a top 3 linebacker, in my opinion, in the SWAC. And so I thought he could possibly be on the list. He would probably be in my 8th to 10th spot on this list, but I at least thought he was a little bit better than an honorable mention.
He was definitely borderline for me as well. I think I'd have him on my list for sure. I'd switch him out for one of the players that I maybe mentioned earlier, but you think about Keonte Hampton whenever you think about Jackson State defense and whenever you think about their season this past year. I mean, he just comes to mind. So I think I'd have him on my list.
And then this is the name I couldn't believe wasn't on the list. Dejon Warren, Jackson State DB. This was the number 1 junior college prospect in the country, committed to Jackson State over Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Oklahoma. And last year started all 6 games, 17 tackles. He returned a kickoff. And I mean, Brandon, there's tape. I'll have to link it. There's tape where quarterbacks didn't throw Warren's way one time in multiple games. Aqeel Glass decided not to test Warren when they played. And it's smart. It's a smart game plan. I get it. But this is the type of guy, Brandon, that has that ability to shut down one side of the field where you see number 4 for Jackson State and you're like, can't throw that way.
Yeah. And he was obviously another one of those staples of this Jackson State defense that was so dominant. So, yeah, I mean, you have to have him on the list. I don't even know how it's honestly pretty disrespectful that he didn't make this list now that I think about it.
I just don't understand how you Jalen Thigpen's up there, but man, if you're talking about just pure talent, I think Dejon Warren might be the best corner in the SWAC.
That's what I'm saying. And I get it because Pro Football Network or whatever wanted to have that D2 guy. When he went into this article writing it, he was like, I'm going to have this D2 guy in there. We're getting Bowie State on this list somewhere. And that's where Dejon lost his spot, and it's ridiculous.
He wasn't even an honorable mention, though.
I don't know. I don't know what this guy is thinking. I don't know what he's on. I would like to have a talk with you, though. Like, if you're listening to this, I would love to have a talk.
This shows how good Dejon Warren is. They got Shiloh Sanders coming in from South Carolina. I think Dejon Warren's better than Shiloh Sanders.
That's bold, but I think I agree with you.
Shiloh Sanders can't shut down a whole side of the field. Dejon Warren can. I think Dejon Warren's the best SWAC corner right now, and for him not to be on any top 10 HBCU player list is just it makes it almost invalid for me that Dejon Warren wasn't even mentioned in the article.
Zach's gonna throw up after this episode. I can tell you.
Just gonna go purge. I'm so upset. But guys, comment below who was missing from the list. What you think of some of these players? What do you think about my names to watch? Give us all your feedback, man. We'd love to hear it. So comment below. We'll have a pinned post below that you can comment on. But guys, it's the 2-minute drill for today. We'll be back later this week. 3 more episodes this week. As y'all know, Monday through Friday, the 2-minute drill right here. 5 subscribers away from 300, baby. And then we're picking some more y'all to get some merch. So we appreciate y'all. We're getting out that 200 merch soon. We'll update y'all on that. We've been slacking on that, but we got all the addresses and everything. We'll be sending out soon. We appreciate all y'all support, guys. Big thumbs up to the video. But for B-Dub, myself, and the 2-minute drill, we are out.